You saved for years to afford this cruise, maybe decades. You clipped coupons, skipped vacations, watched your retirement account grow dollar by dollar until the day finally came when you could treat yourself to something special. A Mediterranean sailing, an Alaskan adventure, a Caribbean voyage with your spouse of 40 years. So you called the cruise line, booked your cabin, and felt that rush of excitement that only comes when a dream finally becomes real. What the cruise line didn't tell you is that by the time your ship docks at the final port, you will have spent somewhere between 40 and 70% more than the price you originally saw advertised. And the most painful part? The people most likely to fall into these traps are the people who can least afford to lose that money: retirees, seniors. The passengers cruise lines publicly call their most loyal and valued guests. This is the story of how cruise lines systematically extract money from older passengers through a carefully constructed system of hidden fees, manipulative upsells, and fine print that would make a lawyer squint. And this is what you can do to stop it. In 2023, the cruise industry generated over $25 billion in revenue. The big three, that is, Carnival Corporation, Royal Caribbean Group, and Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, control roughly 80% of the global market. And despite what their glossy brochures say about all-inclusive vacations, the reality is that the base fare you pay when you book represents, on average, only 50 to 60 cents of every dollar you will ultimately spend on your trip. The industry has a term for this. They call it onboard revenue. It includes everything sold to you after you step foot on the ship: drinks, specialty dining, spa treatments, shore excursions, Wi-Fi, gratuities, casino losses, art auctions, and a dozen other streams of income that have nothing to do with the cabin you booked. And in recent years, cruise lines have become extraordinarily good at extracting this money from passengers, particularly from seniors. Why seniors? The answer is ugly but straightforward. Seniors have money. They have time. They tend to be loyal to brands they trust. They grew up in an era where a handshake meant something and where fine print was unusual rather than standard practice. And cruise lines have spent decades studying exactly how to exploit every single one of those tendencies. Let's start at the very beginning, because the overcharging starts before you ever unpack your bags. When you search for a cruise, what you see advertised is the base fare. This number is real. It is not fake. But it is also profoundly misleading because it excludes a category of costs that are not optional. Port fees and taxes are mandatory charges tacked onto every booking. They vary by itinerary and can range from $50 per person to over $300 per person, depending on the ports you visit. On a 14-night Mediterranean cruise with multiple port stops, these fees alone can add $600 to $800 to a couple's total cost. Government taxes are also mandatory and non-negotiable. Fuel surcharges, which cruise lines began adding after oil prices spiked years ago, have a way of quietly appearing on invoices even when fuel prices drop. The Federal Maritime Commission has documented cases of cruise lines maintaining fuel surcharges long after their stated justification had evaporated. But those are the appetizers. The real money starts with gratuities. Every major cruise line automatically charges what they call a daily service charge, or daily gratuity. This amount is added to your onboard account every single day of your cruise. As of recent sailing seasons, this figure ranges from $16 to $23 per person per day, depending on the cruise line and the cabin category. On a 14-night cruise for two people, that is anywhere from $448 to $644 that you owe before you order a single drink or tip a single person directly. Here is what the brochure does not explain. These gratuities go into a pooled account distributed across the ship's crew, according to a formula determined entirely by the cruise line. The crew members you interact with most, your cabin steward, your main dining room waiter, your bar server, receive a portion of this pool. They do not receive the entire amount, and the distribution formula is not disclosed to passengers. What this means in practice is that when passengers see the daily gratuity charge and decide to remove it, as they are technically permitted to do on most lines, they are often motivated not by cheapness, but by a genuine belief that they tipped adequately in cash. The crew member they handed $20 to at the end of the cruise did not necessarily pocket that $20. In many cases, cash tips given directly to crew must be declared and redistributed to the pool. This system is confusing by design. Passengers who think they are doing right by the crew are often doing the opposite, and the confusion generates goodwill toward crew members that translates into reluctance to challenge the gratuity charge. For seniors on fixed incomes who budgeted carefully for their trip, the gratuity charge is frequently the first major surprise. Many booked when rates were lower and did not realize rates had been increased. Many did not read the fine print that specified the daily charge amount, and many are too polite or too trusting or simply too exhausted from years of honoring social contracts to walk to guest services and ask for it to be adjusted. Now let's talk about drinks, because the beverage package is one of the most sophisticated upsell mechanisms in the history of hospitality. Cruise lines sell beverage packages before your cruise, often at what they call a discounted rate available only to advanced purchasers. A standard package covering alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages typically costs between $80 and $110 per person per day on the major lines. On a 14-night cruise for two, that is between $2,240 and $3,080 for drinks. The cruise line's sales pitch is built on a simple premise. If you drink enough, the package pays for itself. And if you don't buy the package, individual cocktails will cost you $12 to $18 each, glasses of wine $14 to $20 each, and even specialty coffees $5 to $8 each. The math, presented this way, makes the package seem like an obvious deal. What the pitch leaves out is the consumption math. For a beverage package to break even, a passenger typically needs to consume 7 to 10 alcoholic drinks per day, every day, for the entire cruise. Study after study on cruise passenger behavior shows that the average cruiser, particularly among the senior demographic, consumes between 2 and 4 drinks per day. The cruise line knows this. They have years of actuarial data on passenger consumption patterns. They price the packages knowing that the majority of purchasers will not break even, and that their profit margin on pre-sold packages is substantial. For seniors who don't drink heavily, who are on medications that limit alcohol consumption, or who simply prefer to relax quietly without a steady stream of cocktails, the beverage package is almost always a losing proposition. Yet the pre-cruise marketing push for these packages is intense. The framing is designed to create fear of missing out, and the presentation window, which is typically a few weeks before sailing when excitement is highest and critical thinking is lowest, is chosen for maximum susceptibility. There is another layer to the beverage package that rarely gets discussed. On most cruise lines, if one person in a cabin purchases the beverage package, the other person in the cabin must also purchase it. This policy is presented as anti-fraud protection, which it partially is. But it also means that a couple where one person drinks moderately and the other rarely drinks at all must both pay the full package price, or neither can have it. There is no half measure. There is no discount for the non-drinker. You pay for 2 full packages or you pay per drink. Specialty dining is next, and it is where the industry has made its most dramatic pivot in the past decade. 20 years ago, a cruise ship had one main dining room, and that was largely it. Food was included. The experience was communal. Today, a typical large cruise ship has anywhere from 15 to 30 restaurants, and the majority of them carry cover charges, per-item fees, or require separate reservations that cost money. The main dining room still exists and is technically included in your fare, but the cruise lines have made a deliberate effort to degrade the main dining room experience while simultaneously upgrading specialty restaurants. The goal is to create a status differential. Eating in the main dining room feels like economy class. Eating at the Italian trattoria or the steakhouse or the chef's table feels like what you deserve after saving up for this vacation. For seniors who planned carefully and assumed food was covered, the pressure to spend at specialty restaurants is both financial and psychological. Nobody wants to feel like they are eating the cheap option on a trip they saved for. and cruise lines understand that deeply. Specialty dining charges range from $25 per person for casual upgraded venues to over $150 per person for premium experiences. On a 7-night cruise, a couple who eats at specialty restaurants 4 times could easily spend $400 to $600 additional dollars on food they believed was included when they booked. Some cruise lines have begun selling specialty dining packages in advance, similar to beverage packages, where you prepay for a certain number of specialty meals at a reduced rate per meal. The structure is identical to the beverage package. You prepay, you commit, and whether you use all your credits or not, the cruise line keeps your money. Then there are shore excursions, and this category deserves particular attention because it is the area where seniors are most systematically overcharged. When your ship arrives at a port, you have 2 options. You can book a shore excursion through the cruise line, or you can arrange your own activities independently. Cruise line excursions are sold through the ship's shore excursion desk and the cruise line's website. They carry the cruise line's branding and come with a promise that if the excursion runs long and the ship leaves without you, the cruise line will get you to the next port. This guarantee, called the ship guarantee, is real and has value. It is also used as justification for charging prices that are consistently 40 to 100% higher than what independent operators charge for identical or near identical tours. A shore excursion to visit a particular historical site that costs $140 per person through the cruise line can routinely be booked through independent operators for $70 to $90 per person. The same guides, the same buses, the same sites, sometimes literally the same tour, rebranded. For a senior couple on a 10-night cruise with 5 port stops, choosing cruise line excursions over independent options at every port could cost them an additional $300 to $600 compared to booking direct. The ship guarantee has value, yes, but it is not worth $300 of value on a typical cruise itinerary. The cruise lines know that seniors, more than any other demographic, are likely to value the security and convenience of booking excursions through the ship. They market directly to this preference. The messaging emphasizes risk reduction. What if you get lost? What if the local tour doesn't come back in time? What if something goes wrong and you're in a foreign country without support? These are real concerns. They are also expertly amplified to justify premium pricing. Wi-Fi packages deserve their own section because the pricing in this category is, by any reasonable standard, indefensible. Internet access at sea is technically challenging and genuinely more expensive than land-based internet. The satellite infrastructure required is significant. That is real. What is not real is the justification for charging $60 to $35 per day per device for connection speeds that average between 3 and 15 megabits per second. For comparison, the average American household pays roughly $50 to $60 per month for home internet that delivers speeds hundreds of times faster. Cruise line internet packages charge that same amount or more for a single day of dramatically inferior service. For seniors who need to check in with family members, manage medical communications, access banking, or simply stay connected during a long voyage, Wi-Fi is not a luxury. It is a necessity. And the cruise lines price it like a necessity, meaning they price it at whatever the market will bear from people who have no other option. Some lines now include Wi-Fi in premium fare categories or as part of promotional packages, but the base fare on virtually every major line does not include Wi-Fi, and the a la carte pricing is designed to push passengers toward pre-purchased multi-day packages that, once again, require you to estimate your consumption in advance and pay whether you use the full allocation or not. The spa and wellness category is where manipulative tactics reach their most sophisticated expression. Cruise ship spas are operated almost universally by a company called Steiner Leisure, now operating under the Elemis brand, which contracts with cruise lines to run their facilities. The spa is not really part of the cruise. It is a separate business with its own sales targets and commission structures, and therapists whose compensation depends substantially on what they can sell passengers during treatments. Walk in for a simple 80-minute massage and you will be greeted with a health consultation. What follows is not standard. Trained therapists, Under genuine pressure to hit sales targets, recommend products ranging from $60 to over $300 each. The recommendations are framed medically. Your skin has shown signs of dehydration. This serum would address exactly what we found. Former Steiner employees have spoken publicly about sales training that identifies the relaxed, trust-infused period immediately after a treatment as the optimal window for a pitch. Seniors, who tend to be more deferential to authority figures in health and wellness contexts, are disproportionately targeted. Post-treatment product sales at cruise ship spas generate millions of dollars annually. Art auctions are in a category of their own, and understanding them is essential for any senior who has ever been tempted to browse the ship's gallery. Major cruise lines partner with an art auction company called Park West Gallery, which operates onboard auctions on hundreds of ships across multiple cruise lines. The model is straightforward in description and troubling in practice. The auctions are promoted heavily on board, offer free champagne during preview events, and create an atmosphere of excitement and exclusivity. Works sold are presented as collectible, investment-grade art that will appreciate in value. The Better Business Bureau has processed hundreds of complaints against Park West Gallery over the years. The core complaints involve misrepresentation of artists' significance, inflation of comparative retail prices used to establish a sense of deal value, questionable certificate of authenticity practices, and high-pressure sales tactics directed at passengers who are relaxed, wine in hand, and far from any advisor who could offer independent perspective. What makes this particularly relevant for seniors is the psychological profile of the typical auction attendee. You are on a luxury vacation. You feel successful. You have perhaps always wanted to own real art. The presentation is polished. The auctioneer is skilled. The champagne is flowing. And the sense of discovery, of stumbling upon a genuine investment opportunity in the middle of a wonderful trip, is manufactured with precision. Seniors have been among the most frequent complainants in Park West disputes. Several class action lawsuits have been filed. The partnership with cruise lines continues. Now let's shift to what you can actually do, because awareness without action is just frustration. The single most important protective step any senior can take before booking a cruise is to calculate the true all-in cost before comparing prices. Take the advertised base fare. Add mandatory port fees and taxes, which the cruise line must disclose if you ask. Add the daily gratuity for every person in your cabin for every night of the cruise. Now you have your actual minimum cost. Everything after that is optional, but some of it will be difficult to avoid. When evaluating beverage packages, be honest about your actual consumption habits, not your vacation consumption habits, your real daily consumption habits with a slight vacation mood increase. Do the math at current a la carte prices. If you would genuinely purchase enough drinks to break even on the package, buy it. If not, skip it and pay as you go. The fear of overpaying per drink is exactly what the package pricing is designed to manufacture. Pay per drink if that is what your consumption patterns suggest. For specialty dining, research the ship's restaurant options before you sail. Read menus and pricing online. Decide in advance which, if any, specialty meals are genuinely important to you. Pre-booking specialty dining when it is available often provides a small discount and allows you to budget accurately. But the most powerful move is simply deciding in advance how many specialty meals you want and holding to that decision once the vacation excitement takes over. Shore excursions are the category where independent research pays the highest dividend. For every port on your itinerary, search the port name alongside the words independent tours or private excursions. Websites dedicated to cruise passengers, independent tour operators with years of established reviews on trusted platforms, and even fellow passengers in pre-cruise forums can point you toward comparable experiences at dramatically lower prices. The ship guarantee has value when the tour timing is uncertain or when you are visiting a port for the first time and genuinely don't know if an operator is reliable. For established ports with well-reviewed independent operators, the premium for the guarantee is rarely justified. Regarding Wi-Fi, if you need connectivity, buy the package before you board. Nearly every cruise line offers pre-cruise pricing on Wi-Fi packages that is lower than onboard pricing. If you need minimal connectivity, ask the cruise line about their most basic option before dismissing Wi-Fi entirely. Some lines offer limited packages intended for messaging only or email only use at significantly reduced rates. For spa visits, decide in advance what services you want and at what price you are willing to pay. Book them, show up, enjoy them, and when the post-treatment sales conversation begins, you are entirely permitted to say clearly and without apology that you are not interested in purchasing products today. You do not owe an explanation. You do not owe a reason. A polite and direct no thanks is sufficient. The pressure exists because most people cannot sustain the discomfort of a brief social awkwardness. Practice the sentence before you go. Regarding gratuities, understand the system before you sail and decide how you want to handle it. If you plan to tip in cash, research whether the cruise line requires cash tips to be pooled. If they do, and you want your money to go directly to specific crew members, reconsider. The prepaid gratuity, distributed through the official system, may ultimately serve the crew better than cash that gets redistributed anyway. There is a category of cruiser that cruise lines truly cannot easily exploit, and that is the passenger who books the highest fare category. Suite passengers and passengers in premium tier bookings often receive bundled packages that include beverages, Wi-Fi, gratuities, and sometimes specialty dining credits. When you add the actual value of these inclusions to the fare comparison, the premium cabin's true cost advantage frequently makes it the better deal. For seniors who can afford the upgrade and who would otherwise purchase multiple packages, the math often favors going up a tier. Loyalty programs deserve specific mention because they are genuinely valuable and genuinely underused by senior passengers. Every major cruise line operates a tier-based program. Royal Caribbean's Crown and Anchor Society, Carnival's VIFP Club, Norwegian's Latitudes Rewards, and Celebrity's Captain's Club all offer accumulating benefits that become substantial at higher tiers. These include onboard spending credits, discounts on beverage packages, free Wi-Fi days, priority boarding, and cabin upgrade opportunities worth hundreds of dollars per cruise. Seniors who have cruised multiple times with the same line and never enrolled are leaving money behind on every sailing. Enrollment is free. Retroactive credit is sometimes available, and the benefits compound meaningfully for repeat passengers, which describes a disproportionately high percentage of senior cruisers. Travel agents who specialize in cruise bookings are a protective resource seniors frequently underutilize. A good cruise specialist agent books enough volume with cruise lines to negotiate amenities individual passengers cannot obtain directly. Onboard spending credits, cabin upgrades, specialty dining packages, and beverage discounts are routinely available through high-volume agents at no additional cost. The agent earns a commission paid by the cruise line, not by you. For seniors who find the booking process overwhelming or vulnerable to manipulation, a specialist agent is a genuine protective tool. One final area worth addressing is cabin pricing itself. The dynamic pricing algorithms cruise lines use disadvantage passengers who don't know how to navigate them. Cruise fares fluctuate based on demand, booking window, and promotional periods. Seniors who book early and pay full fare frequently watch as the same cabin category discounts in the weeks before sailing. Most cruise lines offer price protection policies that allow passengers to receive the difference if the price drops, either as a refund or as onboard credit. But these policies have conditions. The lower price must be for the identical cabin category. Some discounts apply only to new bookings. Some require rebooking with associated fees. Monitoring prices after booking requires attention. Cruise line representatives are not required to notify you when prices drop. The responsibility is entirely on the passenger. The picture this video has painted is not pretty, and it is fair to ask whether any of this is illegal. For the most part, the answer is no. The fees are disclosed somewhere in the terms and conditions. The package pricing reflects genuine choices. The spa sales tactics are aggressive but not fraudulent. What the cruise industry has built is a sophisticated, multi-layered revenue extraction system built on information asymmetry. They know what the true costs are. They know what packages cost them to deliver. They know what the typical passenger will spend, broken down by demographic. And they have designed every touch point of the cruise experience to maximize extraction from passengers who lack that same information. Seniors are disproportionately affected, not because they are less intelligent. They are disproportionately affected because they bring precisely the traits these systems are designed to exploit. Trust in advertised prices, loyalty to brands, social discomfort with confrontation, and decades of good faith experience in a world that used to be more straightforward. The cruise experience itself, the ocean, the ports, the people you meet, the sunsets from the deck, none of that is manufactured. It is real and it is wonderful. The problem is the commercial structure surrounding it. You earned your retirement. You saved carefully. You deserve to spend your money exactly as you intended when you made that first booking. Now you know the system. Use that knowledge. If you found this valuable, this channel covers cruise travel strategy every week. Real information, no sponsorships, no agenda. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Share this with anyone planning a cruise. The best protection against a system designed to confuse you is knowing exactly how it works.